everyone. Alrighty, let's just wait a second here so we can go live on all of our channels. Hello everyone, my name is Allianna Schneider and tonight we are cooking chicken piccata. I love this recipe because you can make it a few different ways. So you can make it with almond flour, you can even make it with cassava flour, which then would make it autoimmune protocol friendly. So before we get started, I have chicken breast already sliced and pounded out right here. So as you can see, when you're cooking a chicken piccata, you want the breast to be nice and thin. They cook so much more better that way. All I do is I take a knife and I very slowly cut in between the breast, and then you can pound it out with a meat tenderizer, and that will also help spread the chicken out and make it smaller. Alrighty, so before we get started, I'm just going to light my pan here. I have it about medium heat. I don't like to cook things much higher than that because then you get in the zone where you can burn off some nutrients, and also too, you want to be mindful of the oils and the fats that you're using when you're cooking on the stovetop, and make sure that they have high smoke points. So the thing that I like to use most whenever I'm cooking on my stovetop is ghee. Ghee is just a fancy word for clarified butter, which means the proteins that we are most sensitive to in regular butter are removed. So they're burned off in the process of making ghee, lactose and casein. So some people who cannot tolerate regular dairy can tolerate ghee because those proteins aren't in there. All right. So we're going to get started. I'm going to chop up my onion. Already took my shell off. When you're cutting an onion, you want to cut it this way. All right, because this will help get your onion pieces the same size, and that way you're not all over the place with your cutting. So then now I'm just going to cut it this way. I'm just going to chop it. Make sure you have a sharp knife. It makes cooking in the kitchen so much easier, smoother, faster. Always use a sharp knife. All right. So whenever it comes to the chicken piccata, I like to dredge my chicken in almond flour and tapioca flour. So tapioca flour is very similar to cornstarch in regular cooking. It helps get things crispy, hold things together. And so this is just almond flour and tapioca flour. My dog's crying because he wants a bite. This is just almond flour and tapioca flour. But like I said, if you're doing the autoimmune protocol and you have not added almonds back in yet, you can totally use cassava flour. No problem with that. And it will actually make your chicken piccata a little bit crispier on the outside. All right. So I'm going to add some ghee to my pan. I'm going to let that melt, let that get hot. So then it's kind of going to sear the chicken. So I'm going to show you guys, but I'm going to walk you through it first. So I'm going to dip the chicken in my flour mixture. I'm going to put it on the stove top, and I'm not going to cook it all the way through. So what I'm just going to do is, let me show you. So I have my bowl full of my flours. Like I said, we're using the almond flour and the tapioca flour. I'm going to dip it in here. So it just gets a nice coating. Doesn't have to be anything thick. Just nice coating. Like I said, you want your chicken to be real thin. So 4 pieces. I usually like to, in terms of serving sizes for this kind, I always like to be a little bit more generous and count for a ½ pound raw per serving. And once that becomes cooked, that's about 6 ounces. So you can always expect to lose about 25% of your weight whenever you're cooking raw meat. So I have my cutlets here. I'm just going to add this to my pan. I'm going to wash my hands because I just touched raw meat. Now I'm going to let that cook. So I want to let you in on a little secret. My stove here, it's on this slight angle. And so when you're cooking, if you ever notice the fat going towards one side, you just want to swap your pan halfway throughout the cooking process to make sure things go cook nice and evenly. Alrighty, so I'm gonna let this go for about 3 minutes on each side, and then I'm gonna flip it. What kind of questions do you guys have for me? So as far as what we want to serve with this, I love using the broiled asparagus, broccoli, cook it with cassava. Oh, my screen got lost there. Cassava noodles. Anything will go well with this, and it actually reheats super well. Whenever it comes to reheating poultry or anything like that, I love to reheat it in the oven. I like to shy away from the microwave and reheat it in the oven about 350 for 5 to 10 minutes. Or you could even reheat this on the stove top. All right, so I'm gonna grab my tongs here. Oh, there they are. I'm gonna show you guys. If I were to make this with like pasta, I would use these cassava dishes. Cassava noodles from Jovial. And they're grain-free, AIP friendly, Whole30 friendly, paleo friendly, allergy friendly. I have yet to meet someone with a cassava allergy. That's all that's in here. It's just cassava and water and a little bit of salt. These noodles are great. I make them for people who aren't doing AIP, aren't paleo, and they don't even notice the difference between the regular noodles. I'm gonna put those there. I'm just gonna flip my pan, like I said, to make sure it's cooking evenly on both sides. While that's going on, I'm going to juice my lemons. So as far as whenever we are juicing lemons, I like to roll mine out, like if the juice is going. And then I use this little lemon juicer here. If you're juicing 20, 30 lemons at once, like I do whenever I'm cooking for clients in bulk, you want to get an electric juicer where you literally just hold down the lemon and it squeezes out the juice for you. That's the quickest way to do it. But whenever you're cooking at home, just get one of these mini ones or a little citrus squeezer, and you can do it that way. All right, so I'm juicing this. Okay. I'm going to flip my piccata. I'm going to grab this plate. So like I said, we're not cooking this all the way through. We're just cooking it so that it's seared on both sides. And then we're going to saute the onions, the garlic, and the ghee. And we are going to then further cook it in there. Do we have any questions so far? All right. All right, so I'm going to add this to my plate. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to saute my onions and my garlic and add my capers and coconut milk. The nice thing about using ghee is that ghee has that high smoke point. It's a really durable fat, so you can cook it at these high temperatures and it's not going to smoke like olive oil would. If you cannot tolerate ghee, I would suggest using avocado oil. You can occasionally, so one of the other paleo-ish oils that is widely used is sesame oil. It's not the best oil for you, but you can use that in stir fries, but it has a very strong taste. So I typically only use sesame oil whenever I'm making some type of Asian cuisine. I've been cooking all day. I used up all my utensils. All right. I'm just going to saute these. I'm going to add my garlic. I'm using this little garlic mincer right here. You can put your garlic in a food processor that's real fine. Or you can just use this if you're not mincing a whole lot of garlic. Just get that. Okay, I'm gonna add my capers. I typically like buying my capers from Costco because you can buy them in bulk there, and it's for a fraction of the price than if you were to buy them in these little bottles that you get at the grocery store. They have a lot of good products that you can still eat while you're doing AIP, Whole 30 Paleo, that are a lot more economical there. I love their coconut oil. You can buy that in bulk there. What else? Good stuff does Costco have? The capers. Trying to think. Capers. They don't have any of the jovial stuff yet, but I feel like that could be going in there. But they have a lot of good stuff there that you can get in bulk for a fraction of the price. All right. Add my milk and broth. So if you're doing AIP, obviously you can't have the almond milk, but you can use coconut milk with bone broth. In terms of bone broth, you can make your own, or you can, buy store-bought. Just make sure that you're reading the label if you do buy the store-bought stuff, because sometimes there can be hidden stuff in there that we don't want that can defeat the purpose of drinking it. So you want to make sure that there's good stuff in there. It's super simple to make if you do make it at home. I just like to put it in my crock pot and let it cook for hours. When you go to the grocery store, you just ask the butcher for chicken backbones, beef backbones. You throw them in the crock pot with filtered water, a bunch of veggies, any herbs you have, and it turns out delicious. And it makes the house smell really good. All right, so I'm gonna add this to here. Put this in the sink. I'm gonna grab I'm gonna let that simmer for a minute. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, let's grab plate this. And like I said, that you can eat it made with cassava noodles, or you can add broccoli or asparagus. The best way I find to heat up anything like this, if you're bulk prepping, is to put it in the oven, 350, 5 to 10 minutes. Lately, I've been cooking a lot of asparagus, like I said, with my chicken dishes. And my favorite way to cook asparagus before, so that it doesn't get, what's the word for it? Asparagus can be mushy if you don't cook it properly, if you overcook it. So I like to put it in a boiling pot of water, put it in there for 1 minute, dump out the water, and then put it in an ice bath, because asparagus are one of those things that continues to cook even after you're done cooking it, unless it's exposed to that cold temperature. So that ice bath is super, super important. Sometimes I'll even do that for broccoli, because keep in mind, when you are reheating your vegetables, they will further cook. So you don't want to overcook your vegetables the first time around if you're doing your meal prep. Alrighty. Smells amazing. Wish you guys could smell it. I'm gonna add my lemon juice. The heat. Does anyone have any suggestions for what we make next time? I was thinking, someone asked, I didn't know that about the ice bath, Elaine said. So yeah, so anytime you want to stop something from further cooking in terms of vegetables, mostly you want to shock it with an ice bath. So you just grab a big bucket of water, put some ice in it, dump your asparagus in that, let it cool, and then serve it, or put it in the fridge to have for meal prep. It's a big game changer because asparagus is one of my favorite vegetables, but if you overcook it, it gets mushy and it doesn't taste good. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? All right, so I'm gonna grab this. I'm going to, I need my tongs and I don't know where I put them. I'm gonna grab a piece of chicken. Oh, this smells so good. I know what I'm eating for dinner tonight. And these recipes can all be found online on my website at Allianna's Kitchen. It's ALLIANNAS Kitchen, KITCHEN.com. All right, so you have here, and oh, I spilled my broth, but you can see it is just the chicken piccata with our capers, red onion, and ghee. Alrighty, guys, thank you for joining. I got mine.